Hello friends, it is I, Archmage Merlinster Kendledor, and welcome back to the Old School Essentials campaign, Reviewcaps. In today's episode, we see the conclusion of another module added to the Keep on the Borderlands scenario, as well as a special appearance by our friend, colleague, and regular collaborator, the Dungeon Minister! So, sit back, get comfy, and roll the opener, imp!
Roll the opener, imp. Roll the opener, imp. I'm a fell creature from the 9 levels of heck. This menial stuff is beneath me. You're just lucky the Dungeon Minister is here.
As always, the action is recreated using the Order of the Stick, Monster for Every Season cutout minis. Today's players! Scott as Senek Christ, Lawful Cleric of Foltus, Level 4. Rhiannon as Plexus Goric, Chaotic Dwarf, Level 3. Vahid as Xavier, Lawful Ranger, Level 3. Stephanie as Starla, Lawful Cleric of Foltus, Level 2. And special guest player!
Hello, I'm the Dungeon Minister, and I'm playing Roscoe, the neutral first-level magic user.
At the Keep on the Borderlands, the group sits in the Traveller's Inn, the local public hall where residents go to unwind and adventurers go to meet. The magic user Roscoe has returned to the frontier, his first time back in almost a year. Not since that business with the sorrow blight afflicting the farming community of Kleina. He sits with the only people he's acquainted with, Senek, Starla, and Plexus. Also with them is Xavier, the ranger. The group gets caught up on current events. Oliver at home is still at large, and there's a massive reward for his capture. Whispers that he's either returned to the region or never left. Oliver of Hum was the principal instigator in the kidnapping of beloved noblewoman Lady Sylvia late last year. A group of mercenaries stormed Hum's stronghold and rescued the lady, but the villain escaped. The tribes at the Caves of Chaos have also been quiet. No attacks on the road have been reported, and scouts say that they are keeping to themselves. Senek and Roscoe observe that this is likely not good, and they must be up to something. Attacks near the DYMRAK have also stopped in the 2 weeks since the expedition that killed the Goblin Raider Kosovic, of which Senek, Starla, and Plexus were a part. Rumor mill is abuzz because it's now common knowledge that Dale the Castellan won't actively do anything about the lizard men at the Baleful Bog, but no answer as to why is forthcoming. After some discussion and weighing of options, they opt to return to the mound where they fought Kosovic and explore the rest of that complex. Starla's henchman Gus is with them, as he is still on retainer and now sporting new armor and weaponry, having been upgraded to first-level fighter, but they opt to see if more people are available. The DM makes the usual percentage roll to see if leveled adventurers are available, and another familiar face is in the tavern, none other than the halfling Mungo Chubb, who coincidentally was also a part of the team that rescued Lady Sylvia. Mungo Chubb. After confirming that jerk Onion Bun's Bumblestump is not with them, he asks for his usual 25% cut of the spoils, but the group points out that they aren't greenhorn adventurers and their reputation for earning spoils on expeditions should entice him to accept a regular share. He acquiesces to this point and joins the team. They find 2 other retainers to round out the group, Pike and Caleb, then buy gear and food, and depart the next day. Travel is uneventful for the first half of the day, but in the afternoon, Xavier's keen ranger senses notice something amiss. They stop. There is something ahead. Within the forest just off the road, a tree gets knocked over. Then more trees. Then stillness. Xavier hides behind a boulder, the others ready missile fire. Nothing. Mungo does the halfling thing and disappears into the underbrush to sneak forward and scout. But very soon he comes running back, yelling at them to flee! There's a Hydra! Sure enough, a Hydra emerges from the tree line and roars. It has 6 heads. Starla spurs the horse to turn around and everyone except Xavier flees back down the road. Xavier remains hidden. The DM rolls, and the Hydra does not pursue, instead returning back into the woods. Xavier stealthily follows the trail, which leads to a marshy area, common in this region. The marsh is too slow going, and there's no obvious footpath to stay on, so he returns to the group. They scoot through the area as quickly as possible and arrive near the DYMRAK by end of day. The team camps for the night, then the following morning leave Caleb to guard the wagon while the rest head in. Once inside, they immediately head to the goblin area to make sure nothing has moved back in the 2 weeks since they were last here. There is no evidence of anyone. Further, all of the other doors are now open where before they were closed and barred. Searching around, staying on alert, they find a laboratory with various vivisected animals. The foul stench of decay is thick, and saving throws are needed to avoid becoming nauseous. A crucified lizard man has been opened up for examination. Another room was clearly once a storage area with various open and emptied crates. Only one crate remains unopened. Curious, they use a hammer and spike to pry it open, only to be beset by giant centipedes trapped within. They quickly try to close the top to seal them back in, but it's up to the initiative, which ends up tied after an amusing exchange between the DM and Scott, where after the DM rolls a 1, he says that Scott had better not roll a 1, which of course he does. Though they manage to seal it before all of the centipedes escape, 6 are able to get out. Xavier is bitten and fails to make his save versus poison, though the group is able to dispatch the creepy crawlies before Xavier falls to the venom. Luckily, while the large majority of poisons in old school games are save or die, a failed save here means that the victim is merely rendered sick for a week or so. Pike escorts Xavier back to the cart, where he can rest as he'll be of no more use to the group. With Xavier effectively out, our patented contrived character entrance sees the arrival of Vahid's backup, a barbarian named Ragnar. Unlike our usual contrivances for troop play, this character is brand new and none of the existing characters have any acquaintance with him. Ragnar arrives at the cart and sees the sick man. Being a stranger, the 2 NPC retainers are wary, but when Ragnar says he can tend to the poisoning, a reaction roll sees the wary retainers give him a chance. Funny enough, barbarians in old school essentials can cure poisoning by spending a turn in the wilderness seeking plants. Ragnar does this, prompting a second saving throw for Xavier, but that roll also fails, so Xavier remains out of play. Though, it is interesting that Vahid's backup could have conceivably used his skill to restore his prime character and then depart like an angel of mercy. That would have been a whole new level of contrived character entrance and exit. While this is happening, the rest of the group is figuring out how to deal with the remaining centipedes in the crate, surmising that something valuable must be stored inside. They open the lid just a little and let Gus slide his sword back and forth, hoping to kill a couple without letting any out. The plan works a little, killing some, so they open the crate and fight the rest, 4 in total. There is a close call as Starla suffers a bite, but avoids being poisoned, and the team slays the remaining centipedes. Pike brings Ragnar to the group, and a brief negotiation is had. But since this is our contrived character entrance, there isn't that much convincing needed to give him Xavier's share if he aids them, and Ragnar becomes part of the team. Further examination of the lab and vivisected animals yields nothing, so they move on to the flooded corridor. One direction leads back to the cave entrance, but they find a door and webbed corridor, while the other way leads to a hidden back entrance, one that Plexus and the now-deceased Gwen failed to spot on the previous outing. Gus, Starla, Pike, and Mungo guard the webbed corridor, while the others try the door. The door is locked, and none of the keys on the ring Senek found on Kosovic fit. Ragnar, with his massive strength, attempts to bash down the door, to no avail. Plexus also fails. Instead, she starts using her axe. The ruckus attracts a creature from the webs, and a spider emerges. They sling and shoot it, but it doesn't die. Morale holds, and it attacks Gus, killing him with a devastating blow. Starla finishes the injured spider off with a sling stone. The priestess is visibly affected by the loss and mourns her fallen henchman. Meanwhile, Plexus has hacked the door down, which opens into a cell where 2 prisoners are shackled to the wall. A burly and angry orc, plus an elf that is near death and barely conscious. The orc snarls in its tongue, but Roscoe is fluent in its language and translates for the group. It demands to be set free, but the group obviously does not comply. Instead, they try various keys from the key ring, and they find that one fits the elf's locks, so they open it up and carry him out. The orc is indignant, but communicative. First, Roscoe, having heard rumors that a doppelganger is in the area, speaks to it in doppelganger. How or why Roscoe knows how to speak this language is not disclosed, but he also does not tell the others what the language is exactly. Father Aaron, you speak doppelganger?
Well, yeah, I speak doppelganger. It was a roll of the dice kind of thing. I'm not a doppelganger. Trust me, I'm not a doppelganger.
The orc is perplexed, so Roscoe resumes speaking in orc, satisfied that it's not a doppelganger. Interrogating the orc, the group learns that he is an outcast from his tribe at the Caves of Chaos. He was sent away because he is a devout of Grumpsh, and spoke out against the ruling hobgoblin chief, who is allied with Leogzed. The hobgoblin chief keeps the others in line by using a magical scepter that forces people to speak the truth. He susses out potential traitors with it. Further, a high priest of Leogzed has come personally to the Caves of Chaos and set up a shrine, and is readying an attack on the keep. The attack is imminent. When asked if the tribes have any allies within the keep, the orc confirms this, but states he doesn't know who they could be. He does know that a minotaur at the caves has no love of Leogzed, and could be turned against them. He is a follower of a being called the Scarlet Minotaur, and hates Leogzed, but is serving them at the Scarlet Minotaur's behest for some unknown purpose. When asked when his captors were here last, the orc mentions that they came by to feed him, then left, saying that they were departing for a new lair. The group is suspicious. Why would they feed the orc if they were leaving? The orc doesn't know, other than they were tormenting the elf with the food and not giving him any. In the other corridor, while this is happening, the others use fire and oil to burn away the webs. There was movement deeper in the webs, but after the fire is clear, they see nothing, surmising that whatever else was there fled deeper into the cave, as they discover a path leading down to a lower level. Once the orc has been interrogated, the team opts to let it go. Roscoe asks his name, to which he replies that he is Rokhag. He nods to Roscoe, promising that if they meet again, he might not kill him. Then the orc departs. The group escorts the elf to the cart, where they load him on next to Xavier, along with Gus's body. They then return to the mound and prepare to descend to the lower level. Heading into the lower depths of the cave, they follow a watery path. In a dark corner, the team finds a burned and injured giant black widow. They fight to finish it off, and during the battle it nearly gets Mungo with a bite, but they manage to kill it before anyone is hurt. Further exploration of the cave yields the discovery of massive bronze doors and a skeleton propped up, face first against the doors. They search around the area, and Roscoe finds a jade earring in the water. Starla investigates a side corridor and discovers a deep hole, hidden by murky water. Testing the depth with a spear, they find they can't touch the bottom. They acknowledge their luck in avoiding that passage, as someone in heavy armor could have sunk gods know how far down and drowned. Large bronze doors are locked, and no one has any locksmithing skills. So Plexus smashes the lock successfully with solid blows, opening the doors. Mungo enters and sees 6 guards come to life. Zombies lurch forward and attack the intruders. Senek channels his divine power and repels the undead, getting 4 of the 6. Ragnar kills one straight up, but takes a wallop. Senek continues to channel his energy and turn them, getting the final 1. With the zombies huddled up in a corner, trying to escape the divine energies but with nowhere to go, the group is able to easily dispatch them. To the south, there are more bronze doors, but these are not locked. They open to a room with several columns and a pair of gargoyles poised at the far end. There are fears that the gargoyles will come to life, but after blundering around and trying tests, they realize that it's safe to move on. The suspiciously barren room is devoid of threats or traps. A set of final doors open into a tomb, with the walls covered in frescoes outlining the tale of a great warrior battling mythological creatures. In the center of the room sits an ornate sarcophagus. The group immediately knows that there's likely something in that sarcophagus, and will attack them if they open it. I mean, really, it would be more surprising at this point to find a crypt of some kind with no undead. There are 2 candelabras giving off light via some dwemer. Despite reservations about it, the temptation of possible loot in the sarcophagus is too much to bear, so they attempt to open it. The lid is heavy, and after several attempts they realize that they need 4 of them to lift it. Starla and Senek are ready to channel the divine will of Foltest and repel any undead. Roscoe is ready to cast his magic missile, and the rest heave the lid off. Inside, they find a corpse with a bronze battle axe. They want to take the axe, so propose chopping off the head and hands. Before they can act, however, the corpse does indeed come to life and attack. Initiative is rolled. The DM gets a 6. The undead goes first and springs to his feet, this being treated as a half move, and the DM rolls a d4 to see who is targeted. Plexus is the unlucky soul, and the monster's attack roll is 13. Plexus's armor class is 3. The monster's THAC0 is 17, meaning the young dwarf missed getting level drained by a single point as it needed a 14 to hit. The monster is a white, so the counterattacks with mundane weapons have no effect, and Plexus misses on her attack with her magical axe. Roscoe casts Magic Missile but rolls a 2, which +1 to damage is 3. Senek and Starla attempt to turn the undead. Starla scores a solid roll of 9, but being level 2 needs an 11 to turn this monster. Senek only needs a 7, but he rolls a 4. Turning has failed. Fighting withdrawals are declared by the whole group to get out of its reach, but the white again goes first. Another roll against Plexus is made, and misses yet again. Roscoe throws his silver dagger, but it soars wide and clatters on the other side of the room. Starla throws her holy water vial. Miss, but the vial lands close enough that the splash still does 1 point of damage. Senek casts a spell of light on it, and the save fails, blinding the white, giving the group some hope. In the next round, even blinded, the white continues its attack, moving in randomly on Mungo, missing thanks to the blinding effect. Roscoe maneuvers around through his allies to retrieve his silver dagger and throws it again, this time scoring a hit for another 3 damage. Senek, now adjacent to the white, splashes it point blank with his own holy water. Success! He scores 7 damage. The white had 14 hit points. Roscoe's magic missile did 3, his silver dagger another 3, Starla's holy water splash did 1, and Senek's holy water damage was 7. Just enough. The white falls to the silver and holy attacks. The group breathes a sigh of relief. Roscoe dumps oil on the corpse and burns it to make sure. The rest of the group retrieves the bronze axe as well as checking the sarcophagus. They recover a bunch of treasure and grab the candelabras, then depart. On the way out, they also opt to burn the lab and vivisected animals, then return to the cart where Roscoe, paranoid about doppelgangers, speaks in the doppelganger tongue to Caleb, just in case. Caleb is perplexed by the strange speech. The group discusses the thought of not camping here and heading straight home, but then realize that it's afternoon, and travel would have them arriving around nightfall near to where they saw the Hydra. Instead, they spend the rest of the day here and depart in the morning. Before packing up to leave in the morning, Senek casts Detect Magic and notes the magical aura of the battle axe. No encounters en route home sees the team arriving at the keep by end of day, where Gren the Frowning does his usual routine of calling forth the appraisers and scribe to evaluate the loot and note the excise fee. The treasure is divided, XP is awarded, and the session concludes. Another classic module completed, and after only 2 sessions, which is about right for a module of this length. Time for the full skinny. The DYMRAK DREAD by John Nephew was a basic module for the Mystara setting. The setup is pretty bare bones. The group is on a quest to stop a goblin raider known as the DYMRAK DREAD, and after defeating him and his minions they can discover deeper caves with a greater, albeit unrelated, threat. In the previous session, the group defeated Kosovic, the DYMRAK DREAD, then retreated, while in this session they opted to come back and finish the rest of the cave. That about sums up most of the playthroughs of this module that I've experienced, though it can be completed in a single session if things move fast and efficiently. On my previous musings, I spoke about the poster map and my simultaneous appreciation of it and frustration. That still stands. The pros are that it's a very nice map and works well in play, but it's just a paper map, and will be subject to wear and tear over time, with no redundancy in the module itself. In this day and age of digital reproductions, that's less of a concern, but it would still be nice if a copy of the map was available in the booklet itself, as both backup and in case the DM needs a quick alternative reference if they don't wish to unfold the poster map for reference in-game. Another thing this module includes are cutout standees to go with the adventure. This DM's copy was acquired used, so those are long gone. As you see, our Order of the Stick minis go nicely with the colors of the fold-out map, however. but I feel that's another good, inexpensive tool for players to get used to the grid aspect of the game. The module itself plays pretty well. Between the 2 sessions, you have pretty much seen how most playthroughs will go. The team enters the cave, kills Kosovic, returns for the reward, then comes back to explore the rest. This particular playthrough deviated from the norm in that players never directly encountered the Goblin Vokan, a goblin spellcaster capable of casting Sleep and Magic Missile. Every other playthrough I've ever seen has the team killing the Vokan as well, but him surviving for a change is fun, as now the Vokan can potentially creep up again. And you can bet your butts that he will! How'd you like my evil laugh?
Meh, don't give up your day job.
Puh, phooey. The encounter with the Vokan and his sleep magic is a major game changer, as it can easily wipe out an entire first-level party, even a large one. Interestingly, I've never seen this happen, however. In every playthrough, at least one PC is left standing and has to face off against the enemies. It has been a pleasantly tense situation every time that makes players sweat, but DMs should be prepared for the possibility of a total party capture by the goblins should the sleep magic overwhelm them. The goblins do have a prison cell already set up, with 2 potential allies, the elf and orc, that the PCs encountered. Now, this scenario having been engaged with, and the remaining goblins having departed, the DM had to justify things on the fly. It would have been easy enough to say the prisoners were gone too, but never pass up an opportunity for information gathering and roleplay, so it was a matter of giving reasons for the prisoners' presence, and why the captors had kept them alive. It doesn't have to be perfect, just enough to get the players engaging. Props to our resident cleric-turned-wizard for not butchering the orc outright and letting him go!
Yeah, vocational hazard, you know. Priest, mercy, and all that.
The lower-level cave is a good quick jaunt. Also, aside from a possible wandering monster, the only real threats are the watery pit, the zombies, and the crypt with the white. It is a completely separate adventure, unrelated to Kosovic and his goblins, however. The watery pit is just a little environmental hazard, which from the perspective of new players is a great way to get them thinking about their surroundings. As written, it's not all that dangerous. A 10-foot depth that may pose a problem to someone overburdened or in heavy armor, but otherwise an easy pitfall to overcome, but a good teaching tool for rookie adventurers. I'm not happy with the presentation of the zombie guard room, however, and the room with the fake gargoyles. The zombie guards are supposed to be treated as inert, to possibly surprise players, which in theory is fine, but then some idiot goes and marks their location with Zs on the battle map, indicating where the cutout minis are supposed to go. Can you name a single player who will not be tipped off by this? The room with the columns and fake gargoyles is merely a time waster, as there are no traps or threats here. Real gargoyles would of course be a bridge too far for low-level groups, but I do like the idea of a misdirect. Except that there's literally nothing else. No puzzle to solve, no trap or trick to get through. It's just an empty corridor with some details. While I will concede that in a dungeon not everything needs to be something, the room is set up as a time waster, but there's no real ticking clock or consequence to wasting time, save maybe burning through a torch or using up some lamp oil. I feel it would have done well to have this room tied to the crypt in some way. Perhaps something along the lines of alerting the white in the crypt, and if they're not through within a turn, the white is outside of the sarcophagus and waiting to surprise them. Something, at least. The DM here didn't use any such metric, but perhaps a consideration for future playthroughs. Assuming the players make it into the crypt, the white is the real horror here. The module has the white grasping a battle axe and suggests the creature use it instead of its level drain attacks against low-level groups. Not a bad suggestion if the group is first level, though a hit with that thing is almost as likely to instantly kill a first-level character. So 6 of 1/2 and all that. Though, granted, while an axe hit might kill a first-level character, a level drain will, so there is a marginal difference. Well, I don't always like situations where modules will present tough monsters only to nerf them. I mean, why not just use a different monster? At the same time, this solution is elegant enough for variety, depending on the group. In this case, they had a strong group with higher-level characters, so someone getting dinged with a level drain can weather it. The battle axe is also an out for players, as it can affect the white. A player getting control of it will have a chance against the creature if they aren't armed with anything else that can hurt it, in this case silver or magic. On the player front, this was young Rhiannon's first encounter with the level drain mechanic, and though Plexus narrowly avoided that hit, 1 point away on the die roll. Her eyes bulged in comical cartoon fashion when it was explained to her after the fact what might have happened. Also, on the topic of the white, I would like to point out how marvelous that combat was. Organically, it was a joy to behold in real time. It almost felt like a scripted fight, with its close calls and tense moments, and whittling down of the enemy. They were prepared for it, and had the tools to beat it, yet the dice gave them just enough. 2 clerics failing to turn it, one with a literal 50-50 chance to succeed, the only magic-wielding warrior missing on her attacks, Roscoe's magic missile doing minimal damage, Henny missed in throwing a silver dagger the first time. Still, everyone's efforts, as a team, paid off. Roscoe's spell and dagger combined did 6 points of damage. He alone did almost half of the white's hit points. Senec's blinding with the light spell made a huge difference, and of course the holy water. Don't ever enter a crypt without holy water, my friends. In old school essentials, holy water is treated as acid damage to undead, doing D8 damage for 2 rounds. Very potent. Even a splash will yield some damage, as you saw. The module mentions connectivity to another scenario called the Eye of Traldar, suggesting that both modules can be played together as part of the series. In truth, there's actually no connection between them, as aside from being located in a similar region, they are 100% independent of one another. I have to wonder if there was some behind-the-scenes plan in place that never materialized. I have run the Eye of Traldar adventure, and while I won't go too much into it, I will say that it's more of a story-based scenario with a spelled-out plot and specific beats. It is written by Carl Sargent, however, the author of the wonderful Night Below campaign, so there is that. The DYMRAK DREAD provides a quick side adventure easily ported into any ongoing scenario, with some interesting challenges and good rewards. Pros include color poster map and standees for teaching grid combat, variety of monsters and challenge, tough but possible. Cons. The poster map has no redundancy. If it's lost or destroyed, there's no backup. The poster map level 2 is marked with spoilers. Stupid. A little fine-tuning of this module might be needed. As written, the goblin motivations don't make too much sense, and the gargoyle hallway would be better served to have some sort of trick. I give this module a B-. And so, friends, we close the book on another module inserted into the Keep on the Borderlands campaign. There are still many adventures to be had on the frontier, and the tribes at the Caves of Chaos are up to something. But what? Also, with a Hydra now placed in the region, I wonder who will be brave enough to take on that beast. Tune in and find out as the adventures continue. I shall see you anon, my friends.